Yummy Schachter, you've heard his name before in Holy Yid Squares, and of course referencing some of the people behind the scenes who are responsible for the great programming. He is the producer of this great event, the leader of charity bids, Yummy Schachter. A pleasure to welcome you to Unite to Heal.
Great to be here.
Thank you very much.
First time in 3 years.
It's pretty amazing to have you here live and in person. We appreciate it. You have been coordinating everything behind the scenes each and every year until now. Now it's the third year, and you know what that means. It means in Jewish tradition that we are set to do this, please God, as often as is needed so that Mudim can keep on going.
Absolutely.
The last 33 hours, some of the best and most incredible programming, original ideas, great panel discussions, wonderful celebrities and well-known people who people like to see and hear. What's it like as you go through these months and wonder what's going to be the final product for these 33 hours or 36 hours total of the live stream?
It's always very exciting, very invigorating, and it really, we have over 100 personalities that are part of this program, and each one of these people have very busy schedules, even more busy now that COVID's over. Maybe when we started, it was easier to get it done because a lot of people were at home and not traveling as much. It was easier, but now people are back to their daily lives, and to see that over 100 personalities who are very busy and have plenty of things to do aside for this will donate their time and give of their time to participate in this program because of how important it is to them. So it gives us the drive and the strength to keep going, because when you get that sort of support and that sort of feedback, it makes you want to do what we do.
Can I assume you're much more familiar with Amudim's work now than when you first had your initial meeting years ago with Segal?
Absolutely. I mean, the stories we've heard, the feedback we've gotten both from events and from specific segments of the events. I would say the biggest impact, as we all know, was probably the Eli Schwebel song from last year, which I think we'll talk about more later on. But literally, this started as, let's see what we could do for an organization that needs the funds badly and had to cancel their in-person event. And we got 6 weeks to come up with something, which this is what we came up with year one. Went from that to, to really becoming a passion project. And the more stories you hear and the more feedback you get, the more you realize that this is very real. I think for too long, too many of our communities were brushing these issues under the rug and making pretend they don't exist. But we made it our mission to talk about these things and to make people feel uncomfortable, because that's our job. If people are comfortable, we're not doing our job. We want people to think. We want people to react. We want people to understand what's happening under their noses and to support those who are most vulnerable in our community. And I think we've effectively done that through this campaign.
5 million is a big number, but for the reasons you just mentioned, I think there's a reason why we're approaching that goal, because people out there understand just how important the work of the organization is. And we've both been involved in a lot of fundraising efforts over the years. This is pretty significant that we're at 77%, and we're just really starting the home stretch of this campaign.
Yeah, over 3,000 donations, and as of this morning, over what I heard this morning was 600,000 unique IP addresses. Wow. That's a very, very big statement. That's the community saying, whether you hear us or not, whether you see us or not, we stand with Amudim, we support Amudim, we stand with the victims, we stand next to shoulder to shoulder with the people who need the help. And that's what this is all about. And I think you can't get a statement louder than this, right? There's 5 million. We're going to hit 5 million. Hopefully we get over that.
Looks that way.
And those are big numbers for a campaign, especially when COVID's over. And this is one of the few remaining virtual events that is still going. And like you said, it's now a chazaka. I think something like this will continue to go because of the content and how important it is and how much people are thirsty for it.
There's other impressive data. People are staying on this site for quite a while. It's obvious that they're gripped by the type of programming you've arranged, the panel discussions and all the different entertainers, etc. And in addition to that, the average donation is pretty significant. We don't have to say exactly what it is, but it's pretty impressive when you see, the average number of dollars or whatever currency people are using that they're contributing to the campaign.
Yeah. We've at Charity Bids, we've produced over 200 events, fundraising events in the past 2.5 years. This is by far head and shoulders in terms of traffic, in terms of response, in terms of donation size, in every single metric. This event just every year has far surpassed every other.
Great to speak to you like this. Much better than Zoom. And thank you so much for all your hard work behind the scenes and in front of the scenes.
Thank you. I just want to thank, we have an unbelievable team behind us. Obviously, Gabi Scholl, who did this together with me, and Dov Friedman. This is the third year that we're both doing it together. We obviously have the people who run all the Zoom sessions and record them, Vadim and Shlomo Weprin, who works tirelessly to edit them all. Obviously, all the videographers and editors and everybody, and a special shout out to Tzipi from Amudim, as well as the entire team from Amudim, but especially Tzipi, who ran the website and all the marketing. She's been working 24/7, well, hopefully not 24/7.
Round the clock.
Yeah, round the clock for the past few months to make sure that this is a success it is. So thank you, everyone.
I'm Schachter, who of course is producing tonight's event. Our friends at Charity Bids do an amazing job every single year. We pointed out this is the third year, very significant, of course, in Jewish tradition. That's now 3 years running. Kain Yirbu, as we like to say. I'm sure you're impressed. We asked you a couple hours ago about being impressed by these numbers. I'm sure you're impressed by this tote board now as well.
I'll be a lot more impressed in 55 minutes from now.
when the 5 million number is up there, hopefully, please.
Better
God.
be more than that. Okay, it's moving. Okay, good.
I like seeing that, how it continues to roll forward, marching on to the goal of $5 million. So
how great
far,
were our guests tonight? I feel like I'm interviewing you.
Oh.
What did you think of tonight's guests?
I thought so far everybody's done a very good job, I must say. We have an interesting video coming up next, which we'll talk about in a moment. But first, you're somebody who does not spend the bulk of their time in the New York area. We know that Amudim's capital, so to speak, is in New York. Do you feel their reach, even if you're living hundreds or thousands of miles away?
Yes. Well, number one, I feel it because they have been expanding, and in recent years they've expanded to Toronto and to Canada, and they have quite a big caseload there. So That's number one. But number two is, since I became aware of these kinds of issues that Amudim helps people with, I realized, once it's in your consciousness, you can't get away from the fact that mental health, addiction, and abuse are international. So it doesn't matter where Amudim's office is. The issues are everywhere in all of our communities, and they're servicing us all, wherever we are.
Earlier we featured the song, which again is one of those songs that's going to have a major impact on people coming forward, understanding the struggle they're going through. Music has an unbelievable way of touching one's heart, an incredible way to inspire, to entertain. And isn't it remarkable how when it comes to such a serious issue, a 3-4 minute song can make such a difference? Absolutely.
I think, I was pushed into, as a producer, at the beginning of COVID, I kind of stumbled into this virtual event production space. I didn't exactly know what I was doing, but I must tell you that the biggest impact we've made for a bunch of charities, even though we've had amazing programming and amazing speakers, has always been the musical. There's some musical number that we come up with. There's some musical angle. There's some artist, exactly. And that's what people connect with. It's unbelievable. The power of music is real.
That's why, aside from the big messages that are involved in some of the songs that are being presented, just the interesting concepts that you've come up with, the partnerships, the collaborations, the unique ideas. We're going to talk about the Return Home one in a moment, because we're going to introduce that to our audience. It feels like every time there's a musical presentation here, it's a world debut of something.
Yeah. You know what? What I found is, we have the content on this program, as it has been the last 2 years, has been incredible, very original, putting a lot of people together who otherwise you might not see together, talking about a lot of, having a lot of tough conversations that aren't really had out in the open the way we're doing it here. But I find that specifically for victims themselves or people within the community who are kind of peripherally involved, it's much easier to listen to a song and interpret it in the way in which it speaks to you, as opposed to listening to a panel discussion. If I listen to a panel discussion and there's a therapist talking about how to raise a teen, or how to discipline your child, or how to deal with sexual abuse, whatever they're saying is it's like I'm sitting in a classroom. So it's great content, but it's like you either agree with it or you don't, you either identify with it or you don't. If I tell you, going back to Eli Schwabel's song from last year, Stand For You. If I tell you how many people gave what they thought the song meant, or what they thought the lyrics meant. No one spoke to Ellie, but everyone it touched them in a certain way. It touched them personally. They thought they understood what it is based on their own life experiences. And that's the beauty of these musical segments. And so many of them, and that's why once we saw the power of Ellie's video last year, that's why we worked on a few more like that this year, whether it be Simcha Leiner or Chaya Kogan, or some of the other ones that we're going to see.
Phenomenal. All right, speaking of music and original musical presentations, you pointed out to me before we went on the air tonight that Yishai Ribo is not known for singing in English or for English lyrics. In fact, he likely doesn't know English well, based on what I've heard, and a good number of people who listen to his music and enjoy his music don't know Hebrew well. So you came up with an idea. Tell us about it.
Yeah, so when Gabi Schul and I spend a lot of time putting this event together, creating, what kinds of collaborations we want to see, what kind of content we want to see, comparing it to the year before, what could we do differently, what could we do new. And one of the things, looking back over the past 2 years, was how popular Yishai Ribo was. And what's funny to me is that so many of the people who are obsessed with Yishai Ribo can't even order a slice of pizza in Hebrew or ask a taxi to take them to the kotel. So I'm wondering, I guess they're connecting to the music, because you certainly feel his neshama in it.
Sure.
There's no question about it.
He's a poet, as you said.
But he's a paitan.
Right.
If you don't understand his lyrics, then what are you loving other than the melodies and his voice? Mm-hmm. And kind of the idea was born, we called Nachum Solomon from the Solomon Brothers, and we did this collaboration between Yishai Ribo and the Solomon Brothers. We had someone very talented write some English lyrics, and basically it's not a literal translation of Yishai Ribo's Lashuv Habaita song, which everybody knows. We wanted to find a song of his that kind of connects to the Amudim message and theme of returning home, of second chances, of forgiveness, and we thought this would be a very appropriate song to start with, where at least, although it's not a literal translation, let's at least give people the English lyrics to the song, that they should at least try to connect to the song in a different way, much as we've seen people do over the past, couple of years.
Phenomenal. Gabi Schul and Yami Schachter are responsible for producing this piece. The English lyrics, David Olstein is the gentleman, right?
Yes.
David Olstein is the gentleman responsible for
Very
the English
talented.
lyrics. And the concept is, as Yami just described, Yishai Ribo and the Solomon Brothers take a Yishai Ribo hit, and for the first time, Yishai does a song in English.